I'm going to call this meeting to order as the Swampscott School Committee, September 11th, Thursday at 6 p.m. I have made a promise to the folks who are running the TV for us that I will be better about using my mic. So I'll put that out there to the rest of you too, even the rest of you guys, even though I'm sure you're better at it than I am. So we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Thanks for taking care of that. So can either of you see if there is anybody online to speak in public comment?
Let's see. We can do that. There are no attendees in the waiting room.
Okay, take that as a no. Joe, just this says that we're in practice session. Yeah.
Need all the practice.
All right. Oh, okay. Oh, so that was for me to do? Okay. All right. So with no public comment, we will go straight into committee comments. And why don't we start with you, John?
I actually do not have anything tonight.
Glenn?
I was actually, sorry, Joe. I was just coming from the elementary school where the smart message board was put up. And we had a picture taken, and Mr. Kalishman was there, Ms. Raymond was there, among others. And hopefully that will help those students that need the assistance to communicate. Again, thank you to all those who worked hard to win that grant, and to the Flutie Foundation for donating that money. It was great. And then just one other thing, there was a ton of kids just playing around, and some were with the Y program, some were just hanging with their parents, with their younger siblings. Awesome.
Oh,
I'm gonna leave it at that. And other than that, just quickly spoke to Mr. Kalishman and said everything's going great and all's good.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
I think for me, my son's been telling me about the new hall pass system that's here at the high school, and the fun that he's having with it. But I just like how it kind of works, where they're kind of like some time limits, and if they're not back within that time, they get checked on to see if they're where they are. So I kind of like it because it's just going to keep the learning going.
That's interesting. It'll be interesting when our student reps are here. And
Yeah.
they can fill us in on.
Right.
We can get their opinion on that, because I'm sure you're getting an earful at home.
Yes.
I don't have anything specific to say other than just acknowledge that Mr. Kalishman isn't here tonight, and just to let you guys all know that he has been keeping me updated like an every other day basis or so. Nothing major is going on, but in general has reported a lot of really positive energy, and that's obviously really exciting to hear. And just wanted to sort of report in that it seems like I'm going to take no news as good news. I don't know about you guys, but I have had no complaints so far, and not that I'm looking for any, but that's always a good way to start the school year.
Absolutely.
So I think I think particularly because Mr. Kalishman isn't here tonight. Oh, hi. I couldn't recognize who you were. Yeah. I have a feeling that this will be not a particularly long meeting, so let's just use the time as best as we can, and we're going to go straight to you, Ms. Stella, for our finance and operations.
Excellent. So I'm here tonight to report out to you, as per usual, kind of how we ended fiscal year 25 with our budget, you know, overall, this was a little bit more of a positive year for the school department. And we actually ended up spending 99.7% of our appropriation. So as you may recall, to town meeting for FY '25 allocated $200,000 in free cash to the school department for our elementary school utilities. And as part of that agreement, we did say that we would keep that money separate and only use what we needed, and anything that was not needed, we would turn back to free cash. So we did use all of it but $4,017. So we left that unspent, and that will be going back to the town. We had, at the very beginning of the year, been spending quite a bit on unemployment claims, and then that really kind of tailored off. And in fact, near the end, very tail end of the fiscal year, we had some fraudulent claims that we had submitted to them, and we got reimbursed. So we actually ended up with a lot of credit. So the unemployment, which was initially projecting to be fairly high for this past fiscal year, ended up coming in far more favorably than we had anticipated. When we do our kind of end of year projections, due to timing, we do have to project out how much we might need from the Special Education Reserve Fund. And due to the timing of that, and then when everything kind of clears out for the fiscal year, we did, as you may recall, request $83,617 from the Special Education Reserve Fund. So through that process between that time and kind of when we closed our end of the books, there were a number of outstanding purchase orders that the facility department thought that they would incur. They didn't incur. We were able to close those out. So between that and the unemployment, we had overall unspent dollars in our budget this year of $98,881. So the great news is that we'll be able to return those funds back to the Special Education Reserve Fund.
Great.
And so what will happen is once the town closes their books and does free cash, that money will fall back to free cash, at which time town meeting can then, hopefully in December at special town meeting, appropriate those funds back into that reserve fund.
So the 98 goes from here to free cash with the written agreement that it will then come back to us,
Minus the 4,000.
minus the 4.
Yes,
Okay.
correct. So we knew that the facility expenses at Swampscott Elementary would be very unpredictable last year, and in fact, still probably somewhat unpredictable as we look at the projection this year. But school facilities did end up in more favorable for us for '25 for a couple of reasons. One, the construction company, due to when they actually finished things up, they were actually paying our electricity bills during the summer, which is partly why we had some unspent funds. And then we also had gone back out to bid for our contracted cleaning contract, and we got very favorable terms for that. So that helped at that cost center. As we had talked about throughout my projections through the year, we knew that special education was going to end up over budget. It did, as we predicted. And then the other cost center that was a bit over budget was actually district-wide programs, and that was really because we had some student, staff, equipment that we actually needed to purchase that we didn't anticipate. So that's a summary of kind of where the cost centers ended up and where the overall budget ended up. To talk a little bit more, as we all know, the budget is not just funded by our appropriations, it's also our Nahant revolving fund. This year we received about $1.8 million in revenue from Nahant. We spent about $1.3 million, and we had a balance as of the end of FY '25 of $574,000. And then as far as kind of overall what we spent for out-of-district tuitions, as you probably recall, we spend money from our appropriated budget for that, circuit breaker, and then the IDEA grant. as well. So in total, we spent $4.6 million in out-of-district tuition.
Can I just ask a quick question?
Sure.
Do we foresee any problem with FY 26-27 with the IDEA grants?
No, not this year, so definitely not 26.
Yeah.
I don't know about 27.
Right.
The state is actually, Massachusetts itself is actually being audited on this grant, which we found out, and so they're actually gonna require a lot more from us to provide them, to provide the federal government.
It's
So-
not really a surprise, is it?
No.
Coming from a blue state?
No, I don't think so. So we'll see, once the state goes through the audit, if there are any possible issues with that grant for 27. But 26, we're fine.
Great,
Can I-
thank you.
Can I ask you about the Nahant revolving fund?
Sure.
I know that in the past, that revolving fund was, it specifically funded certain things.
Correct.
So is it that piece of it was unspent, or was it, or has that money been moved to another cost center? Like, what happens to that?
So that stays, the 574,000 stays within the revolving fund
Okay.
and is there for us to utilize in any future fiscal years, which is good. It's kind of, if you think about it, you know, we have circuit breaker, which having that balance helps us to, at times, offset years when we're trying to keep the appropriate budget number down. The Nahant revolving fund acts in a very similar fashion. And so we do directly spend specific expenditures against that, a whole host of them.
That aren't necessarily specifically Nahant related? But
Right,
it's part of our operating budget?
Correct, yeah,
Because
because,
they participate in everything?
correct, yeah, you know.
Good.
And it's, the only things that we do spend against that are middle school expenses and high school expenses, because that's where the kids
Kids
are.
are.
Right.
Yeah.
But it is used to offset those expenses. And so having this balance is actually a very positive thing for us, especially as we go into some future budget cycles, knowing that the town, as they said before, was going to have a few years, you know, next couple of years where, you know, revenues might be a little difficult. If we're trying to really manage our ask from the appropriate budget, if we can maintain some level of balance in this can help us in that manner.
And so what's the balance in that revolving fund?
574,000.
Great.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like, you know, straight off the bat that, you know, since we know that we were, started the year $100,000 in the hole with the
Right.
federal grants,
Right.
that it's almost like we know that that's gonna be spent. Okay. So it's not really a question of how, but when.
Correct, but that, it is one of those levers that we have for us when those things happen that we couldn't plan for, those unexpected things that if, you know, if we can't manage it within our appropriate budget, this is an avenue with which we could go to. You know, it's kind of similar to districts that do school choice. That's also a you know, this is kind of similar to school choice,
Yeah.
right? So districts that do school choice, that is also a revolving fund, and they use it in the very same fashion.
So playing devil's advocate here, if I'm on the finance committee, and I say, okay, this looks like you've got money here that you knew about. What happens? How do you manage this? How are you managing? How do we respond to that? Because it makes sense to me that we're not pulling money out of this account, just sort of, it's not play money. It's very specifically, you know, it has very specific expenses that are related to it. So how do we talk about the fact that we do have this cushion here?
I mean, I think the way that you talk about that cushion is just for those instances you just brought up, right? That this allows us to help absorb a sudden $100,000 loss in grant funding without going back to the town asking for more money. similar to circuit breaker, right? I mean, I'm not aware of any time in the history that the school department has ever had to go back to town meeting and ask for additional appropriations. And it's because of some of these sources. And what I will say also too, is that, while $574,000 may look like a lot, that gets eaten up, that could be, well, and we wouldn't likely use it for a placement, but let's face it, like, that could be
Two
one,
placements.
right, one or two placements. That could be a few teachers, and a couple support staff that we need for new students coming into the district.
Right.
It goes very quickly.
Especially when we were in the hole for the special education line item by almost 500K.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think it's always that careful balance, right? And between, making sure that we still have, that we're in a position with which the school district is not at special town meeting having to go back and say, town, we actually need additional appropriations, but having it be reasonable. And when you think of a cushion of $574,000 in the grand scheme of a $32 million budget, it's a very tiny percent.
Right.
So it acts sort of like the towns, like Finance Committee Reserve or some of their other reserves, right, that they could tap into if needed. Or just like some of their revolving funds, if they have balances in certain revolving funds that they might have, recreation or et cetera, they keep those balances and they have those balances available to them if need be to help balance things.
Makes sense. Anybody have any questions?
Just one quick one.
Sure.
More of a clarification. You mentioned about the unemployment claims that there was some fraudulent activity. I guess, was that involving our district, or if you can expand on that a bit?
Yeah, so this was very rampant during the pandemic era. And it seemed to have tailored off, but it has actually resurged a little bit. And so we've had some employees that someone has filed an unemployment claim. They're still current employees. They had no
Right.
idea. And it wasn't until it's showing up on our unemployment bill that we realized that somebody is filing on their behalf.
Oh, so it's not our employee that's filed it?
No,
It is fraud.
It is, yeah, it's legitimate.
Really a scam.
Yeah,
Wow.
Right.
yeah. And for some reason, those are still somehow getting through the unemployment claim process. And so it actually takes us quite a bit to fight those claims. Because the way unemployment works is they just automatically assess you the dollars, right? Once somebody submits a claim, they're on our unemployment bill, and then it's on us to provide documentation and, kind of tell them that this isn't
This person's here working.
right. And then most often, that person actually has to submit something as well, attesting that they work here, this is fraudulent. So it can take quite a long time for the credit to come back to us for what we paid out.
All right, thanks.
You're welcome. Just real quick, lastly, I just wanted to go over the circuit breaker fund just really quickly. Our award this year was $2.1 million. We expended $2.1 million. And we have a circuit breaker balance of $450,000. Again, as you recall, that's, the balance per our agreement with the town before we can draw on the reserve funds. That being said, I don't know if you recall, but through the budget process and the tri-chair meetings, we're supposed to annually look at that agreement.
Mm-hmm.
And that hadn't been done. That did happen during the winter with myself, Gino, Jason Ham, and Amy Sorrow at the time. We did revise that threshold to $600,000. I realized a few weeks ago that I did not have the revised signed agreement. So I'm just trying to track that down to make sure that doesn't, that doesn't really fall through the cracks. But know that balance was agreed upon to increase to $600,000.
Can you just keep us updated on
Yes.
your trials and tribulations to try to get that signed document?
Yes.
Thank
I will.
Well, I would imagine it's hard because of all of the turnover now in town hall.
Absolutely,
Just
yeah,
that, you
I
know,
mean,
different people are
yeah,
there and.
there was a lot going on, I mean,
Right.
I'm not blaming anyone.
No, we just want to make sure that, you know, we can locate it and,
Right,
The good news is I remember that there are meeting minutes about that.
correct.
Right.
And that you have reported in on that, so.
And then another piece with the circuit breaker they did want to share is that in July, so basically right after their fiscal year closed, there was a supplemental bill that the governor put forth, and I think it was because there was some additional funding in the Fair Share Act, but don't quote me on that's how it came about. But all districts got additional circuit breaker reimbursement. And so in July, we got $156,000 more in circuit breaker that we had never anticipated receiving. So that's really positive news.
right?
So that brings our balance up
It-
for the moment.
Yes, as of now,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, correct.
That won't last very long.
Yeah.
No, I know that.
So the last piece is just there's a vote requested that you have to do to, you know, kind of transfer the money. It's a zero impact, but to move money between the cost centers whenever you so choose to have that vote. I do have it here at the bottom of the memo, but if there are any other questions, I'm happy to answer them.
All right, Ms. Stella, I will just go through this, and so I will accept a motion to transfer $104,730 from the administrative line,
Administration cost center.
from the administration cost center. And do I need to,
I would do them individually.
okay, but do I need to identify where it's going to, or just that
No.
it's coming out? Okay, so let me start over again. I will entertain a motion to transfer out of the administrative line item $104,730. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I will entertain a motion to add $121,699 to district-wide programming.
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is that everybody?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I will entertain a motion to transfer out of the general education line item $218,189.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I will entertain a motion to transfer $278,246 out of school facilities.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And I will entertain a motion to transfer in to special education $479,466.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, so that is it. Ms. Stella, I know I didn't ask you this ahead of time, but we have talked about it over the summer. Are you prepared to talk about the sort of reconciliation with the costs for health insurance and where that fell in between what happened at town meeting and your reconciliation in July? I know I didn't ask you this ahead of time, so if you're not prepared, maybe we can talk about it next time.
I can probably quickly pull up the email that I sent. I can summarize. If you'll just give me a moment. Okay, so as we had requested in the committee, when the town had let us know that there was increased health insurance costs and, you know, and asking for us to share in a proportionate share for that and reduce our budget. I did receive the information from Town Hall, and in total, for our employees, The total dollar increase from last year to this year was $465,075, or a 9.86% increase over last year. As you recall, our net state aid increase from 25 to 26 was $417,773, and our decrease in the Essex Tech assessment, it was a decrease year over year versus an increase, was $23,066. So typically, those are, as the town should and says, they use those to help, fund health insurance increases. And so with that being said, we covered all of our health insurance increase but $24,237 between our net state aid increase and our decrease in the Essex Tech assessment. However, you will recall that the Finance Committee did vote to reduce our budget already by $20,000 for the legal bills that we didn't think that we would need. And they did that before town meeting. So in essence, we pretty much covered between the two what our portion of the health insurance increase was.
And again, that was 9.8%?
Correct.
So I think I just want to drive this home a little bit. So I think we all should remember that it was about a week before town meeting that we were told by Town Hall that, in fact, we could estimate that the costs for our insurance were going to be going up by 18%, which is why as soon as 20 minutes before town meeting, there were additional budget cuts. So that the select board did not support. So I just want to acknowledge that I really appreciate the select board hearing the work that we did, and particularly the work that you did in estimating and knowing what our numbers were backwards and forwards, and in fully insisting that they fully fund our ask. So I would, based on the fact that there are very few people who listen to this broadcast, I would like to send a note to the select board from all of us to acknowledge that we really appreciate their standing in solidarity with us, and that the numbers did turn out to be almost exactly what our finance guru predicted. I don't want that to go unnoticed, and I think it's one of those things that can very easily go unnoticed.
I think sending a letter is a great idea.
Yep, so
So I will work on that,
Are you
and
gonna make
Yeah,
sure
you should make a
Finance
motion.
Committee
It's-
sees it as well?
I will, I'm sorry, say
The
that again.
Finance Committee as well, or?
I will send it to the select board, because I really just want to thank them, but I will CC more people. So, and
Yeah.
I'll share it with, I'll share it with you, so to make sure that I have my numbers accurate, and with somebody else, just for content. So I will do that.
yes, it is. I look forward to reading the letter.
All right. Does anybody have any questions or want to add anything to, as it relates to financial and Ms. Stella's reporting?
I just have one more thing to go over with the
Oh, okay.
committee when you are ready.
Anybody want to ask anything else? Okay,
Okay.
go ahead.
So just this other little piece, it's an annual requirement. As you may recall, we had to do this last year. I believe when we discussed this last year, you had never done it before. It is required by law that you set our maximum checking account limits in our student activity funds. So this is standard procedure. I'm again asking for you to set those limits. It's the same limits that we had set last year with high school of 50,000, middle school of 40,000, and the elementary school of 15,000. So although it's not required, it is good practice for the committee to vote any new student activity funds that we want to open and close any of the ones that we need to close. Again, as you recall, this hadn't been done in quite some time, so we had a lengthy list
I was going to ask
Oh,
that.
that's right.
of
Okay, I
ones
remember
we
that.
needed to close. So thankfully, this year, much smaller. So I'll just summarize those really quickly for the committee. So for the high school, we need to open the class of 2029 in a gardening club account. And we are looking to close class of 23, 24, 25. Middle school, open the class of 2033 and close the class of 2029. Elementary school, open the class of 2038 and close the class of 2033. So there are two votes requested at the bottom whenever the.
So is that because they've turned that class of 2033 over to the middle
Correct.
school?
So now,
Okay.
and this is, again, this is kind of a change from how things had operated before, but really this is, kind of best practice with the student activity funds. Once effectively, like the kindergarten class comes in, you actually open a class account, and that class account follows that class. And that had not historically actually been done. And so what happens is we have to close, we'll close it in the middle school because now they're in the high school, or close it in the elementary school because now they're in the middle school, so.
Just out of sheer curiosity, how does that work from how do you do that? Who owns those accounts?
So the accounts are managed through Quicken.
Right.
And there's 3 administrative assistants that do this as part of their role. Kate Curtis at the elementary school, Heather Everett at the middle school, and Linda O'Keefe at the high school. And so they manage the money coming in, going out, writing checks. They balance each account in Quicken. It's also in Munis, but in Munis, it's just one large account. The detail's not there. And so the actual closing and opening of them is done internally within our, their different QuickBook applications. Because each school just has one large checking account that everything flows through. And so that's kind of the process for opening and closing them.
Just one more question. So all those accounts from last year, I remember going through them, just some old stuff. Did we find owners to that, or did you have to give it to the state?
So if you recall too, some of them had very tiny balances. So the ones that aren't class of anything, once we closed them, they rolled into that undesignated principals account. And so we never have to give money back to the state. It's either we keep it within the district or it goes to the class, treasurer or president or whatnot. We actually finally just cleared up the class of 1985 a few months ago. So some of the old class of, we are struggling a little bit to close and disperse the funds because we can't find anybody that's associated with them to give the check to. So it's a work.
But the money lives within Swampscott School's checking accounts?
Correct.
Huh.
Can we just, so something that's that old, can we just, from a legality point of view, just say, it can't really sit there
Consider-
forever?
But
right?
you
Designate it as
consider it
Designate
abandoned.
it somewhere?
Yeah, I think we have to make a fair number of attempts to find somebody that
Right.
wants to either tell us, and then they can tell us that they want to donate the
Yeah.
funds. We
Right.
just
We
really
just can't
need,
do that on our own.
right, we really have to,
It's so wild, though, to think that we're in a town where there are so many people who grow up here, graduate from here,
Not
and then
like that.
return
We have
here.
access to, the 1985 yearbook. We can certainly find out who the class officers were. I mean,
What
it's not.
class was Mr. Kalishman in?
I
It
don't
was
know.
in 1985.
No, he wasn't.
He's a little younger than that.
Yeah.
95.
Okay, whatever.
I mean, the whole point is, information's there.
Yeah.
It'd be easy to, I mean,
Yeah, no, I think it's
just
not for
takes
lack
her
of,
there,
but
but the contact
what
is-
Cheryl's saying is
Right,
not for lack of
Right,
trying.
trying to find an email or a phone
Yeah, I mean,
number
like, 'cause
for
you-
some of these people.
it's easy
Yeah.
to find the name.
Right, so, we're still working through.
And how much money does that represent?
The old class accounts?
Yeah. I mean, like, how much effort is going into
It sounds like a lot of time, right?
$20?
Well, no, we wouldn't, we wouldn't be doing it for
Okay.
$20. I mean, we're only doing it for ones that have, thousands
Oh,
in them, that we really would like to have somebody either give it back to them, or
Yeah.
they use it for reunions, or whatever they would like to use it for.
yeah.
Or someone to say, yes, we really would like to donate this to the Swampscott Public Schools.
Mhm.
So,
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
For example, the class of 33 that's being closed at the elementary school and opened at the middle school, any balances are just going?
they roll forward
just
with the
roll forward.
class. Right, and that's why we've started doing the class accounts, because what was
Right.
happening is, and I'm not saying this always happens, but say you have one class that does a ton of fundraising and and they didn't spend a lot, well, we want that to go with them through their,
Right.
career here at Swampscott, versus just being used by other classes.
Well, I sort of remember back in the day when my kids were in elementary school, whatever was left over just stayed there and was used for the next class.
Right,
But to your point,
especially as they get into high school.
Right.
There's a
Well, yeah,
lot
you think
of.
about the prom and how much that
Right,
costs.
I mean, there's a lot of activities, so. Any other questions on student activity funds?
I'll make a motion to approve the student activity checking accounts limits as followed. The elementary school, $15,000, the middle school, $40,000, and the high school, $50,000 limit.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous? Okay,
And then the
Happy-
second one.
Go for it.
and what's the second one? Oh,
Vote
sorry.
to approve the opening, closing of the student activity accounts as described in the above memo.
I can make that motion.
I can second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. All right,
Who's opening the garden club, just out of curiosity?
It's a new activity here at the high school. I'm not sure who.
Students, I just
Yeah,
didn't know if it was a principal-related thing or.
no,
No.
I think it was, and I only know about this because of Cece's capstone project, but part of her capstone project in the Innovation Pathways Program, thank you very much.
Let me just
Was
finish what your
to,
kid
was
was doing for you.
to, yeah, was to build, no, I appreciate that, was to build some materials for the gardening club. So they were nascent last year.
Yeah, great.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Stella.
You're welcome.
Moving forward, the school committee chair, school committee goals, I think we wanted to formalize this. And Suzanne, do you, since you put,
Well, I literally took the notes from that workshop that we had back in August and drafted goals. So from what my recollection in your notes said, so for our technology goal was that the members would be educated to use, access, and manage data in the shared Google Drive so that members are using the drive in a consistent, organized, and efficient manner. And I know you had mentioned that Ms. Mackey Knowles was willing to maybe train us.
she was willing to come back and train us again for the returnees and
And newly.
and newly.
But, so if people, the wording of this is sort of just.
Yeah, and so I just
Exactly.
want to, so
Whatever.
I just want to talk with, I just want to have an open conversation now about what each of these things mean and hear from everybody if it makes sense, if you agree with it, and importantly, if there's anything you want to add or clarify. So I know that I, for example, am very good at saving things to Google Drive, but not necessarily very good at finding them. So I don't know how other people feel about the Google Drive, but I think that what our goal here is to make sure that we're sort of all on the same page and that we can rely on each other to create and find the kinds of things that we're looking for and not necessarily have to call up our administrative assistant to find some pretty basic things.
Like, I would love Ms. McInnes to help us create a school committee drive. I mean, we have all these shared drives, right? We have all this stuff, right? But it would be nice to have like a school committee drive that said policy, finance, you know, whatever our subcommittees are, right? And that, you know, they're working drives so that the people that are on these committees can access them, but they're also there. So those people that are on the committees have editing privileges, right? But everyone else has view-only privileges that are on, other people on the school committee have view. Like, I just think like that would make so much more sense. And I was thinking about, you know, me talking to Miguel last time, like, oh, sure, I'll get you that stuff. And we're 14 days later and you still don't have it. But if we had this drive, if we had this place, I could just say, I made you an editor, you can access it. And so-and-so is no longer an editor or whatever, just like we just really need to set that up, because I think that would help us find everything too.
Apart from policy and finance, are there other things that people know that they want to add in there, or is that something that everybody wants to think about, and by the time I manage to?
I mean, I think we have to be really cognizant of whatever we do is we're dumping, but we're not discussing or deliberating over
Right.
everything, right? So that's
Right.
really important. That's why I set up 2 editors, so people can read, so we all have sort of the same information. But I
Right.
think like, that's why subcommittees were easy to set up, because we know that who the editors are. Some of the other ones just seem like might get messy if we're putting documents in, and
Well,
we just have to figure it out.
I think, you know, particularly if we think about the finance, and we think about I'm having such a hard time.
Negotiation. like you're thinking
Negotiations.
Committee of the whole things. But
I feel like you're the second half of my brain tonight.
and you know what, this is what happens when you're over 50, you have a collective brain. That's just how it works. But I think like we also have subcommittee chairs for negotiations and for
Yeah.
finance. So that's okay, because those people will be able to edit, add, and subtract documents. No one else will be able to do that.
But they'll be able to
only
see them.
read them.
Right.
And I
Okay.
think like that's what's really important, is that only the 2 people can edit and add or delete
All right,
documents.
so I would say the chair, to have one specifically from the chair, so that we can put things like meeting minutes, you know, of things that not necessarily from meetings like this, but like the tri-chair, so that is available to everybody easily.
Oh, yeah, you should definitely have a chair folder.
Mm.
And matter of fact, instead of sending us out, you know, you can say, here's the link to new stuff I put in.
I learned that from you.
And then you have to get
Take them,
permission.
take
Then you
them.
have to give people permission
Yeah.
after you send them the link.
So Amy, I agree 100% on this technology thing, because I also have struggled over the last few years to find stuff. And there are a number of shared folders, like Suzanne said, and, you know, it's like, is it in this shared folder, or that shared folder? My only suggested add onto this goal would be maybe a by date, like by October 30th, we'll do all this, or this will all be set up so we have it for the school year, something like that.
I agree with you about the by date. That October 30th scared me.
Why don't we?
We can pick the day, that was
Why don't we
just,
say, I mean, I think this should be ongoing,
Yeah.
but I think it should be initiated by, you know,
I will initiate
first
this.
quarter of the year.
I will
or
initiate
something.
by the first quarter of this year. I will.
Yeah, but I'm saying it probably should be ongoing, because we might need multiple.
Okay,
absolutely.
And it's very nice of Ms. McInnes to
yes.
want to
Yeah.
deal with us, the 4 of us
On a-
again.
Well,
on an
we
ongoing
don't know
basis.
anything about her wanting to do
Yeah,
it.
we don't know about wanting, and quite frankly, she could very well, you know, hand us off to somebody else to do the.
Which I would do if
teaching.
I were
Yeah,
her shoes.
Yeah, I would too. But we appreciate it nonetheless. Okay, I will add that, John, thank you. Communication. The school committee is going to explore communication strategies of other districts, evaluate best practices, and outline a communication plan for the school committee. So just for background to shake the dust off, what came of this was this idea that we've been talking about over the years, and I think particularly since Miguel is new and has new ideas, of really figuring out, in the past, we've taken the attitude that the school committee is not the newsmaker, and that news of the district should be coming from the district and the schools, how do other districts work? Do the school committees have their own outlet? Do people pay attention to them? And is there any value? So I don't want to, a school committee goal can't be Miguel's goal, but
Why?
I think we're going to make you take the lead on it.
Sounds good. That was mostly just trying to get news out to people around like our budget. Like, we have a tiny bit of extra money here, and we had our update on the health insurance stuff as well, but we have 0 attendees.
Yeah.
So I just want people to get that information ahead of time, so when we are starting to talk about the budget, or we're on the town floor about the budget, people feel that they have been at least somewhat prepared or known that we are starting our budget conversations in December or November, and that these have been numbers that have been here for months.
I think
So
part of
Miguel,
it
you
is-
kind of anticipated a question. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, go ahead.
You kind of anticipated a question I was thinking here. When you said, we'll get the information out to the people. I think one of the things I wrote down just in reading this previously was that maybe we should be a little more specific about who our audience is. So, could that be families, staff, and the community in general? Maybe they don't have kids in the schools anymore, but just,
Yeah.
have the message, maybe tailored for those particular audiences. So again, rolling into town meeting, there's hopefully as much buy-in as we can get.
Yep, because I know we've shared some other stuff before, like last round, through Parent Square, and some people that weren't with kids in the system were a little upset that they didn't get to see the information, but we did make it available after, once we knew that. So it's mostly just trying to get information out with the least amount of barriers for people to digest.
I think that though, we need to think about the type of information, like I appreciate that you're saying right now, the healthcare and the money thing, but we need to say, when something like this happens, we need to direct our business administrator to tweet this out from her department, because this isn't our news, this is her. I'm sorry, are you just rolling your eyes because I can't see your face?
That was a scared look right there.
No, but I'm saying like, we have to think about what our news is and what
Right.
the district news is, and this kind of stuff it's both, it's all of our newses, but it's, I think we just need to figure out what that is, because I agree with you, we have to tweet out budget stuff, but I think our budget stuff is, I mean,
Well, so
hard to
let me add to
define.
this. It struck me, and this is going back 10 years, and so you'll once I say it, you'll realize why. But this has always stung. But there was somebody at town meeting who was sitting behind us who said something along the lines of, well, I trust the school committee to do what's best for our kids, but I don't trust them with the budget. And, it's sort of, I think with the implication that the school committee really is like a PTA on steroids. And since it was more than 10 years ago, you can tell that it stung. But, so I appreciate the idea that that the town is looking to the school committee, especially people who do not have kids in the system, that they are looking to us for information about where their taxes are going.
Right. No, I completely agree. I will just add, though, for me, the audience is more of the people in town versus
Yep.
the teachers, educators. I think that's a little bit of a slippery slope. That comes from us. That's just me, that's just my opinion. I think we have to be incredibly careful there.
Yep.
But I think as far as letting the townspeople know, and as you said, especially those, sorry, John, especially those that do not have children in the system, which is a vast majority.
The majority.
Of of the people at town meeting and the taxpayers. I think that's really important for, for us to find a vehicle to get out this information.
Yep.
All we can do is get it out there. If people don't read it, that's on them. But I think it's a great thing. But again, as far as the teachers go, I think we have to be incredibly careful there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and that's why communication, just trying to keep it to the things that we do.
Right.
Yeah.
Policy, budget,
Right.
and Jason.
Yeah,
Completely agree.
But,
yeah,
and leaving, Jason to do all of his stuff around the day-to-day, because that ain't us.
yeah.
But also just making sure that, the people that don't have students, don't have a direct line to our information, to know what's happening, to understand why we've made some decisions along the way, and just also have something that we could reference as well to people. If they email saying, I didn't know, well, here's the newsletter from last month where we detailed this one little part about our policy change, and happy to discuss more.
Yeah, and Amy, one thing I liked, just in the description here is looking at the strategies of other districts. Yeah, we've talked about that a lot, just on a whole host of issues here. It's like, hey, what's Linfield doing? Or, what's Wakefield doing? Things like that. And, if they've got something that's working, why reinvent the wheel?
Yes.
So, I'm glad to see that in here. And do you think there's any upside? I don't know what peer districts we're thinking, if we're going to go with the ones we used, if
Well,
that's something we should think about.
So our practice has been for the last, for as long as that I can remember, is that we do stick with the peer groups that we identified
Right.
during negotiations. So unless there's an outlier with somebody that comes out with something particularly fantastic that we say we should be thinking about this,
And Miguel should probably get that list.
yeah.
Yeah, I came at the tail end of negotiations, so.
Right.
We can get that for you.
Okay.
And then, so I would say the same thing about by date. I think that we should probably think about by, middle of December of making sure that we have a way forward. So it's going to mean more conversation in a meeting like this, so that we can be prepared for the next budget season, and being better at updating people. And the third piece is our legal services. School committee will research the Council of School Attorneys, COSA, for an attorney evaluation tool. School committee will evaluate the current attorney relationship. I think importantly, just in case anybody is listening, this is not to say that we don't have good counsel, but that it has not been evaluated in some time. And having a new superintendent seems like the perfect, and a new school committee member, seems like the perfect time for us to do some due diligence around this.
I agree. I think it's like, as you said, I know as long as I've been going back, that we haven't even looked. I think it's a good idea. I think it will just refresh everything.
I'm happy to put my hand up for this
Oh,
one.
good. I was just about to ask you that.
I also have just one addition, to throw it out there to see what folks think, is not only evaluate, but make recommendations.
Well, so ultimately, it's our hire.
Correct.
So the last time we did this, when we hired
KP,
KP Law, thank you for my,
you're welcome.
when we hired KP Law, it was probably 12 years ago. And this is a very public process. We had, I think, 3 different attorney presentations come in during our school committee meetings. We had a matrix that we used to evaluate and then made a decision after that.
Yeah, and I think, to be more specific, when I said recommendations, I don't think I'm thinking a specific firm, I'm thinking a process to do what you just described.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And
Well,
you-
being the attorney of the group, I'm thrilled that you have thrown your hat in the ring for that.
I think like, John, I think like to expand what you're saying, I think that it shouldn't be a recommendation, but it should be a recommendation, like, we should be setting up like a recommendation to review this every 10 years. And it should be to review this every 10 years and to develop a matrix of, the recommendation would develop a matrix of goals and needs or things we're looking for from our partnership with an attorney. I think that not just recommending that we should proceed with looking for a new attorney or not, it really should sort of, recommendations should be like what the procedure around doing that looks like, maybe.
Yeah, because if they don't no longer meet our needs, then
Right.
we should go with someone else.
There should be a mechanism in there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, just as a reminder, we don't have a contract with KP, it's a pay-as-you-go.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think it's smart, and I agree, I think we should probably have a policy that says to future school committees that you need to review this every X years. Again, nothing may change, but we haven't looked at it forever.
Yeah.
So, I agree, thank you, Joe, for volunteering. I think it's a good process to do.
Is there anything anybody wants to add?
I was thinking, I don't know if this is where we would put it, because, again, I missed the session, because there was another commitment, but during the summer. But we had talked about superintendent evaluation. Is that a place for that?
Well, I would say that's not part of, I would say that it's not
We're
part of
setting
our goals,
goals,
because it's
our goals
because-
for that?
Because that's our job.
Right.
I don't know.
I agree. I think that's just part of what we do. You know, yes, we got away from it a little bit, but I think that's part of what we do. It's not really a goal. I mean, I think I think these are more of, you know, technology we're going to do. You know, that's different. I think the evaluation is, we have to do that. That's our charge,
Yeah.
is to do that. That's just my opinion, and it doesn't really matter to me one way or another.
Where do you guys fall on that?
I would kind of agree that it's a little bit in our job description that we'll be evaluating the superintendent. I know we did go a little briefly in the workshop of like what the evaluation kind of looks like for our
Right,
new
I think that's more
superintendent.
what I'm thinking, you know, what are our goals for that process, that type of thing?
So, there's.
And again, it probably could live outside of this. I
Yeah,
agree.
so, no, I think it's a good question. You know, there's a really standard evaluation process that school committees use for the superintendent. And our next step is to work with the superintendent on their entry plan. And from there, craft the, you know, it's a pretty pretty in-depth matrix that we have to go through. And what we'll do is choose, I think there are like 4 or 5 that you choose that they're going to be evaluated on. And that is something that we're going to do in tandem with our field rep from the MASC, just because it's been a while, and we want to make sure that we're doing everything right. And it's a free resource. Well,
Right.
I mean, it's not a free resource, we pay for them, so we should use them,
I completely agree. We haven't done it for a while.
yeah. You know, I think, you know, there was COVID, where these things were not happening, and there was post-COVID where these things were not happening because we were still drinking from a fire hose. You know, but then we had the luxury, essentially, of having one of the most tenured superintendents going, you know, and so, who was in the midst of probably the biggest project of her life, which was opening up an elementary school. So, I think all the reasons that we did not do this make sense, but I think it just speaks to how much more we have to just make sure that we buckle down and do it and have all the paperwork to show it. And I think it's also the best way to, it seems strange to say that an evaluation is, honoring your employee, but I think it's the right thing to do to honor, the work that our new superintendent is doing and making sure that they, get the proper recognition for it.
In the meantime, can you guys refresh your document if you're looking at that the school committee goals? Because I think I added the language that we were just talking about, if you just want to like double check. The first one I added education to commence in the first quarter of 2025. And the third one I added, school committee will develop recommendations for evaluation cycle and process and will evaluate current attorney relationship.
The only thing I would change would be, rather than first quarter of 2025, would be to say by December
Email it.
or November, just because first quarter to me is January to March.
Agenda.
You're right,
Even though I know it's the first quarter of the school.
okay.
Are we going off this?
And if we had a drive, we could mention the
was,
driver.
but-
Yeah.
Only because I'm sitting next to the
Yeah.
business administrator. I'm just kidding. No more pressure.
Anybody
many
else?
quarters.
Any comments?
No, I think it's-
I'm sorry, where are these changes? I'm sorry.
Are you looking at the document on the drive from the agenda? Just click on the agenda
Oh,
again,
the
so it
agenda,
should have
okay.
refreshed.
All right, let me find that.
So you don't have to figure out on the drive where it is yet. It's just in the agenda,
All right, let's see.
which is on the calendar.
Yep, I don't see a by date on communication. Did we want to put one in there?
I didn't. I didn't for either of the other two, because,
Do you think we should for communication? Because ultimately, we'd love to be able to do this by budget season. At least have the beginnings of a framework.
well, I mean, the same thing for legal, right? But we just assigned 2 people, so, like,
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, you guys that just assigned yourself, do you need
Well,
an
or
external?
we can just commit to coming back periodically to the committee and updating, if that works.
That works for
Yeah, I
me.
mean, I think it's fine. I don't
Yeah.
think it needs to be part of the goal. I think you're gonna,
Okay.
can trust you to volunteer and do it.
All right.
Voluntold.
But only, I think the first one just did require a date because we're asking someone has to schedule someone else to
Yeah. Yeah, it takes.
to lead something.
Okay, with that, I'm going to move on, unless anybody has anything. And I'm going to skip subcommittee appointments for now, and go to Joe Dulett, since he is sitting here patiently, and doesn't need to sit through it. So, I know I was pretty dusty about this until Joe reminded me, but this was something that we discussed back in May, and we tabled it because I think it wasn't on the agenda, so we couldn't take a vote at that time.
That's correct.
So here we are, and Joe's going to bring us up to speed and probably bring a little bit more to it than last time, because more has happened.
In fact, today was, I think, the last day of the installers finalizing some of the networking stuff. And since school has started, I think Jason Kalishman has been in my room about 10 times with ideas for what we can do in that auditorium to raise money and get interest, so you guys should feel good about that. I just wanted to show you quickly what else has happened since, so I'll just share this with you guys, if that's all right. I'll keep it brief, because you've seen most of this already. Where the heck did it go? There it is, sorry. And the general request is a vote on the name so that we can start renting this out. Well, using it and possibly renting it out. So here's the, you've seen most of this, I'm just going to skip through it, but the stuff that's happened since, and I'll start here because I think this is a really neat rendition of what we thought it would look like. This is a drawing, and Emery Construction was the person that was hired to put in the acoustic paneling, and this is kind of phase one. He put these in, and then in the back, and if you see in those little alcove spaces, there's absorption material. And the audio professionals and I were in the room, like, when he finished, and we all just could hear it immediately. We could hear the room clear up. And I think the telling moment, like, I think when you go in, hopefully you don't notice because it sounded like a good room, but the telling moment was Ms. Zotto likes to move around, and at one point she just put the mic down, and everyone could still hear her. It wasn't
wow.
like a complicated, chaotic echo chamber anymore. So this is them putting the speakers up. So there were two big lifts on stage. And so when you go in, notice the two line arrays. Each of them has 6, so they were still putting one up there. These are the speakers that went in. If you'll see in the front, there are these 4 large subwoofers, so that'll add some kick to any of the performances in there. And this is just a really kind of interesting level of sophistication. They tune the room, so they actually put mics up and listen to all the frequencies, and they make sure that the frequencies are perfect, so that when someone comes in, we're not adding or taking away frequencies that shouldn't be there. So this took them like half a day. They were just throwing static in the room and measuring it using their tools. Roger Talkov, more to come. I want to talk about really thanking him for everything he's put into this, both his time and efforts and thought and dedication. So he's a member of the class of 1979 and is so dedicated to making sure this room works well in all ways. The cameras have been installed now, so in the back of the room there are PTZ cameras. We can run the whole thing with really 2 people if we need to. We're not going to fire all of our students, but if they can't do it for some reason, we can run the whole thing. And this was LaTanya's effort. That big white box is a brand new screen. So if you haven't been in there yet, there's a really large screen and a 13,000 lumen projector, which you can see now with the lights fully on. 100%. You can see it clearly, so that is
Make for a
perfect.
better town meeting.
Can you
What's that?
imagine, like, seeing the whole screen during town meeting?
You can see the whole thing. We can keep it up there. We don't have to flicker the lights anymore. It's just like it works.
So great.
So everything's been done. This was the page of things that hadn't been done when I talked to you left. The only thing that it hasn't been done yet is the premiere show. Eddie Rovey and Emily Zotto have kind of teamed up to plan this Battle of the Bands on November 24th with faculty bands from each of the 3 schools, along with some student bands as kind of openers and closers.
Oh my God, that's so great.
So he's hoping to really bring a lot of the community in for that. It'll really show off the system, and my live sound engineering class has started, and my hope is that that class will be able to run the sound for the show, so it should be a really exciting event. We've talked about all this, so it really just comes back to where you guys were at with the name. And we kind of left it here, but you guys had seemed pretty open to starting here with some ideas of maybe naming the auditorium later after somebody or a donor or something.
After somebody gives us $1 million, then we'll give them naming
I
rights.
know, we still haven't really talked about naming rights for stuff, you know, we sort of got burned a little bit with the gym, not knowing that was happening or what happened with that. I'm all for it being named that, but, you know, we just really do need to be sort of
I completely agree with Suzanne.
think more about this. But so, Mr. Doulette, what's your preference?
To start now, I think Swampscott Auditorium, just to make it feel a little more townwide, as
Yeah.
opposed to just situated in the high school.
That is not the high school auditorium, it's the Swampscott Auditorium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree. I like some of those other ones that were kind of clever, takes on some of the ocean themes, but, I don't know, that just might take a little bit longer to come to agreement on that.
I think I agree. I think to start here is great.
Yeah. Does anybody want to make a motion?
Can I just ask,
Oh.
can I just make a comment about this logo? I mean, the Swampscott Auditorium with the district logo on there, I think the district logo should be like on the second line at Swampscott High School or something. I don't know, like,
Or not there?
I'm just throwing it out there if we're gonna try to like embrace the town.
Yeah, and I guess this is misleading. I'm not proposing this as the design of the logo, of a logo.
okay.
So
Okay.
This was
Alright.
just something that I put on as like hey, this could look like this.
Yeah.
So right now, it's just the name. And then I think if we want to move ahead with a logo design,
Yeah, I think particularly.
that would be next.
I think particularly because we're trying to make, that, identify that this is a town
Right,
piece, that it shouldn't be confused with the school and the school logo.
right. I completely
No,
agree.
I think it also sounds better too for any organization. We're gonna be in Swampscott Auditorium, not Swampscott High School Auditorium.
Yeah,
Like, just,
yeah. I mean,
whatever. It's-
like-
I agree, I 100% agree.
It's gone.
Look at that. No, I just didn't.
Totally
know if
agree
that
with you.
was-
Yeah, totally agree. It was just a quick thing to make it look a little prettier. But
Latanya would be really proud of you for,
Right.
Pivoting so quickly.
no, editing quickly, but also like branding,
yeah, I mean,
Like,
you guys
right, like, that's
worked
like-
hard on that logo, so I was just
right?
trying
Like
to see
just
where we
like,
might use it.
Yeah.
I mean, I get like we're branding all presentations and stuff. Like,
So I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I will make a motion to approve the new name of the Swampscott High School Auditorium to just Swampscott Auditorium.
Well, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous? Yay.
You
All
know,
right, let the
it'll
concert
Make us
begin.
money.
Yeah,
Thank you, guys.
thank you.
If Cheap Trick can play in Lynn, they could play here. Much more comfortable here.
Oh, Lordy, okay, so I feel like this is just something that haunts me, these subcommittee appointments.
Didn't we do this?
I feel like we did.
Yeah, I thought we did
Yeah, we
this
did.
last time.
We did.
Okay,
Yes.
okay,
Yeah.
then I'm gonna skip it. So, then let's roll into our subcommittees and our much-awaited.
Can I ask a chair question?
Sure.
Do we have an update on Financial Summit? Anything?
So, I met with Katie Phelan and with Eric Hartman, and we talked about what should be at the Financial Summit. And obviously, that one of the difficulties is is a staffing issue. And we also talked about the idea that a financial summit is just that it's finances about the town, and that this can't be just the school reporting in.
Like it was at the second one we had?
Yep. Yeah, where they were, evaluating all of
Right.
our contracts. I also offered up, as we had discussed in our off-site, having somebody from the MASC come and talk to the group as a whole and educating them on Chapter 70 funding. And, I think there was a lot going on, so they didn't really kind of grab onto that. But I think, when it comes time to make the agenda, that we'll just be sure to add it.
I was thinking about that in that presentation, and I know we've done it a few times, and I know we have to keep doing it because, people sweat, people change, right? And people need to have the same information. But I was also thinking, we should really ask MASC or even Mass Municipal Government something about, I can't remember what their acronym
Yep.
is, but this, just like about Proposition 2.5 and the sustainability of funding education within those limits. And because I think there must be someone who's really sort of like has the data about how much faster special ed or educational costs are growing and outpacing that 2.5. And I just think like that's a better discussion. I mean, not a better, it's an alternative discussion because I think that's ultimately what we want from this financial summit is to like figure out how do we adapt, how do we adopt a fiscal policy that works for all of us.
Knowing what the realities are.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I just think like there must be, I don't know where to look for that person, But I think that there must be direction from the MASC or Mass Municipal Government
Yep.
kinds of things, because I think that, like, I know the very first time we had a financial summit, we had a keynote speaker from the Collins Institute.
Yep,
And I think it was just like,
I don't remember that.
I think it made it really professional to have someone come in from the outside and talk about about government in general. I mean, I don't necessarily remember that guy being anything.
Just you don't remember it, yeah.
I don't remember, but I remember that was important to sort of set the tone to the gravitas of the meeting.
Okay,
And then the agenda was much more varied. The second time we did it, I know the school committee dominated, I know there was a bunch of different presentations I know I had to make a presentation about the new school or the state of the schools, and Martha did a special ed presentation. I think there was a chapter 70 presentation.
okay.
But I think it's better so we sort of, I just think we really should be focusing on.
Well, I think that's a really good idea because, in the end, that's where we want our finance committee and our select board to be focused.
And that's what we've been talking about. We have been talking about this reset
Yeah, like
kind of
what's the-
thing.
what's
But
the
I think we
reality?
need some justification for why that should happen and what it should look like. Or what other towns are doing to address it, if they are doing stuff. I don't know. Whatever, those are my thoughts, and I just didn't know where you were in the discussion.
Hold on, let me just write this down. So we ended it, I'm sorry, I was looking through my notes because I have a date that we put on the calendar. We do have a tri-chair meeting next week, so a week from tonight. And we talked about having a listening session. And I'm embarrassed to say that without my notes in front of me, I don't remember what we were listening to. So.
Yeah, it's all good. I just.
Sorry. I wish I could pull that
I
out
know,
of the air.
part of me, just the listening session, I feel like we
Oh.
but I'm all for hearing people again. As long
Well,
as-
and this was specifically the tri-chairs doing the listening, so
Oh.
it wouldn't involve everybody.
I like it even better.
So,
I'll second that, I like it even better. than
so
that.
when the three of us meet next week, I will make sure to put that on my agenda, what exactly we're listening to. Sorry,
It's par for the course.
okay? Anything? Should we go into concussions?
Yeah, I don't, if you're looking to me for concussions, I don't have anything because I never heard from Ms. Farley about, I mean,
So I think,
I don't know, John, if you got some answers to your questions.
I did. I mean, I can fill in a
Yeah,
little
go
bit
ahead.
into some of the context, so.
so before you start, I just wanted to say, so where we left this the last time, for people who don't remember, is that John had some reservations about it, and sort of rather than pushing the issue, that he was going to go and do some research about it, but that we had tabled all of the, we tabled the vote, but with the idea that we were going to vote tonight, so.
So I think to address the vote thing, I think I'm comfortable going ahead with the vote tonight. And the reason I'm comfortable is I read through, it's called a concussion protocol, that's the underlying document. And I went through that, and I should have provided some context the last meeting, which I did not do. One of my daughters suffered a concussion a number of years ago, and it was, at least to me, and it revealed some gaps in the process. You know, a lot of her teachers didn't know that she was even in a concussion protocol. There were some other notification issues and tracking issues that just revealed themselves during that process. So that was kind of top of mind for me just coming into this. So I highlighted those concerns. I sent them to the superintendent a copied Amy on that correspondence. And the superintendent said that they would consider those as part of their, it looks like they're looking at this protocol anyway right now to update it, so the timing is actually very good. So they will consider that feedback and determine appropriately how and if it's going to be included. So those are the assurances I was looking for, just to, again, get comfortable with, kind of the top of the house policy.
So with that, I'm going to entertain a motion to approve the concussion policy as presented 2 weeks ago.
I will make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion about it? Seeing none, all in favor?
All right.
Aye. And the motion passes unanimously. All right, so we are coming down to the end. So for actions, under actions and votes, we have a donation being made by the girls soccer team to pay for an additional coach to the tune of $2,488. This is something that went through our athletic director, so we know that it's being done on the, what's the word I'm looking for, sort of as expected, as is protocol. So could I have a vote to approve the acceptance of this money?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. And then, last but not least, I will take a motion to approve the regular session minutes from August 28th, 2025.
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. And unless anybody has anything they would like to add, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, we're adjourned.